actually see a release date for the game.
Will you finish the Riot MMO before 2030?
Před 2030, my to udělali před rokem 2030, tomu věříte? Či to věříte tomu? Já ne. Taký video Riot MMOčku, uši, zase. Takových už jsem pár viděl. A tady se prej dozvíme všecko. Všecko o Riot MMOčku, co zatím víme. Tak ukaž. Tak ukaž, bro.
MMORPG has got the potential to...
To je nějaký starý MMOčkař určitě, že jo? Tady má Warcraft, tady starý PlayStation 2 hry, vole. No a další hry už skoro nepoznávám. Tady má Elidana, tady má knížky, vole, z Vovka. To byl nějaký MMO hráč. Andrzej Sapkovský tady, zaklínač. Takže zjistíme hovno, je to možný, zjistíme hovno, ale aspoň to málo, co víme, třeba si tady shrneme, ne?
Big boys of the MMO world.
Everybody's been talking about it. People are just...
Jo, jako Asmongold se jednu dobu taky strašně, vole. Nad tím honil klobás, že? Nad tím Riot MMOčkem.
Going wild. Every time I watch a video, people ask me when I'm going to watch this video.
I say the next cool, potentially big, fun MMO is this game.
The next king is likely to be Riot Games, as of now still.
Jako ten cinematik vypadá docela goofy, že dneska už. Když vyšlo před 10 rokama, tak vypadalo docela v pohodě, ale no před 10, tak před 12 už. Dneska už je takový meh.
Unnamed MMORPG.
The future of the MMORPG genre is sitting in Riot Games' hands. The League of Legends universe has been exploding over the last few years, with Riot adding auto battlers, card games, adventure games, and a fighting game, all while producing some of the world's largest esports. Riot...
No nevím, jestli ten svět úplně exploduje teda. Jako Arcane explodoval, ale ty ostatní hry zase tak ne, až na TFT teda. TFT je prý huge. Lolko je huge. Kartičky jsou na to docela bídně. Nebo možná kartičky hraje do hodně lidí, ale jsou nějak špatně jako monetizovaný, takže na tom prodělávají strašně, no prý. Ale jako ještě nějaká jiná hra, která je dobrá, teda dobrá, jako hodně úspěšná, asi Valorant, že? Valorant je prý hodně úspěšný, ale to budou tak 3 největší hry jejich, že? Lolko, Valorant, TFT.
Passing traditional sports events. So when I heard they were going to be making an MMO that would take aspects from the
Zapomínám ještě na něco? Asi ne, že?
old classic MMOs we know and love, while at the same time introducing new features that would welcome a new generation to the genre, I was, to put it lightly, very excited. But how do I know any of this? Well, what if I told you that no matter what the naysayers may think,
Don't believe the naysayers.
we actually know quite a bit more about this MMO than you might expect. I have spent the last 3 years creating spreadsheets, websites, and actively stalking, researching the Riot Games MMORPG team. And I have found every little piece of evidence we can regarding this highly anticipated upcoming title. In this video, we're gonna go over all of that information. So sit back, relax, grab a drink, grab a beverage, and let's talk about everything we know about the upcoming Riot Games MMORPG. As always, make sure to take this all with a grain of salt, because it can all change, and let's just have fun with it. Back in 2019, League of Legends co-founder and MMORPG enthusiast Mark Tryndamere Merrill teased whether or not Riot Games should make an MMORPG. Then nearly an entire year later, Greg Ghostcrawler Street officially announced that there were already in
Hele, ten byl v parodii.
fact building an MMO set in the world of Runeterra. What we didn't know back then was that Riot Games had in fact hired many talented developers all the way back until like 2016 to start working on MMO research and development, with some of the team pitching multiple MMORPG designs. Needless to say, it seems Riot Games has had the intentions of creating an MMO for quite some time now and have been waiting for the right time to announce it to the public. And at the time of recording this video, that was 4 years ago. We have seen a few speed bumps along the way, all of which I promise you are quite normal for game development, especially MMORPG development. We had the departure of executive producer Greg Street and a few other team members from the project, as well as the highly misrepresented reset that occurred early in 2024. To touch on the subject for just a moment, we received this tweet from Riot co-founder Mark Merrill regarding the reset. After a lot of reflection and discussion, we've decided to reset the direction for the project some time ago. This decision...
No, tu produkci to MMOčko úplně resetnuli. Asi ne úplně všechno, co měli, ale asi velkou část toho, no. Protože si prej asi uvědomili, že to tady řekne.
Wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The initial vision was just not different enough from what you can play today. Now we can speculate the reasoning.
Chcou prostě přijít s nějakou bombou, něčím úplně novým. Jako styl MMOčka, který si dneska prostě nezahrajete asi, no. Asi chce být výjimeční. To je jako dobrý krok, ale kdy se toho dočkáme? 2030 třeba? Mohlo by to tak být, ne? 2030.
For this reset all day and probably...
Že bude sezóna 20 a všechny regiony už budou mít vlastní sezónu na Riftu, že jo? Budeš mít, vole, Noxus teďka, Demací, Iony, vole, všecko, všech těch 10 regionů nebo kolik jich je, to už všecko bude, tak pak dají Riot MMOčko, pak to dropnou.
All the way until release of the game. But what I can say is that by resetting the direction, that doesn't mean they are starting over from scratch. They have over 4 years of server development, artwork, concept art, and object-oriented code that can be used to rapidly prototype this new direction. The example I like to use is imagine a ship out at sea. They had their destination mapped out and where they wanted to go, but instead they decided to change their route. So instead of going all the way back to the initial port, they can kind of redirect and use some of the distance that they've already traveled to get to their new destination a little bit quicker.
Takže tak plus 2 roky.
What it doesn't mean is that they fully reset the project and are starting from scratch. This isn't classic hardcore.
Že MMOčko vo VR? To nevím, já jsem VR nikdy neměl, nikdy jsem nehrál, ani mi to nějak neláká. Upřímně, nevím, no.
Wow. Now that we've gone over...
Já nevím, jako co by to MMOčko muselo mít novýho, aby to bylo fakt jako odlišný od toho, co už dneska můžeš hrát. Nevím, jaký věci by tam měly být. Těžko říct.
For Riot's MMORPG history, the announcements with their different developers, let's dive...
Jako to MMOčko je vždycky problém, že strašně dlouho trvá ten jeho vývoj a všechny MMOčka, co dneska vycházejí, tak všechny vždycky tak 2 měsíce jakoby byli strašně hypnutý a všichni to hráli a pak najednou umřeli a už to nikdo nehraje, že jo. A pak se zase všichni vrátili asi k WoWku, nebo aspoň mám takový pocit z toho, no. Že všichni se furt vrací k tomu WoWku, občas si zahrajou něco nového, že? Že by NPCčka měli vlastní AI. Tak to už máš v několika hrách dneska, ne? Vlastní AI, no, tak jako až docela chytrý NPCčko dneska už si myslím.
Dive more into the world, its lore, the team, the dungeons, the raids, the classes, races, all of it. But before we get into too much in-depth information, let's talk about when we could potentially see a release date for the game.
Will you finish the Riot MMO before 2030? Sure hope so, although launch is the start, not the end. So.
Here you can see Trinamir talk.
Říkal 2030, vidíš to? Počkej,
sure hope so.
Could potentially see a release date for the game.
Will you finish the Riot MMO before 2030?
Před 2030, my to udělali před rokem 2030, tomu věříte? Či věříte tomu? Já ne.
Sure hope so, although launch is the start, not the end. So.
Here you can see
To už je šedivé, ne? Jakože. Už by to taky mohl chtít, aby to bylo venku, ne? Že to vydají, tak bude mít takhle bílej vous až na zem, vole. Jak vole Gandalf.
The start, not the end. So.
Here you can see Trinamir talk about how he sure hopes to have the MMO out before 2030. As if that would be kind of a crazy idea if it was any later than that. So,
no, co, už je to blízko docela, no. Ještě udělal nějaký seriál a po seriálu bude MMOčko, no. Uvidíme nějaký Noxus seriál, tak to musíme brát. Noxus seriál je blíž než MMOčko, musíme se těšit na seriál a pak až mluvit o MMOčku, no.
So I think it is safe to assume we will get it out before then. For me at least though, the more interesting part is how he speaks on the fact that releasing an MMO is only the start, and that it is important to keep the game up to date with steady updates and content for the player to enjoy for the time coming in the future after release. Riot has been hard at work developing the world of Runeterra through its flagship title League of Legends. From the frozen peaks of the Freljord to the shores of Bilgewater, the world of Runeterra truly has something for everyone. In fact, there are 13 different named regions available in the world of Runeterra, and we've already discovered more of them through various books and novels. So I think it's safe to say that we will likely see many of these regions with the release of the MMO, but whether or not they decide to include all of these regions is kind of a bigger question. Though, during an interview with Necrit back in 2023, executive producer at the time, VJ Tucker, had this to say about it.
We have our North Star of like that full version of Runeterra, and we know we're going to get there. So it's just a question of the steps along the way.
Currently within League of Legends, Riot Games likes to classify their different champions with various different classes and roles. To any fan of MMOs, many of these names may sound familiar. We have tanks, mages, assassins, and even some more original ideas like vanguards or skirmishers. If Riot simply takes these 6 main classes of fighter, mage, marksman, slayer, tank, and enchanter, then I think we have the classes that we would need for any typical modern MMORPG. Many of these classes actually fit directly into what is considered the holy trinity of class design for MMORPGs. But what is the holy trinity, you might ask? The holy
Tank, DPS, heal, ne?
Trinity is the gameplay class sorting of tank, healer, and DPS.
You're welcome, guys. You're welcome.
It's been popularized in MMORPGs like World of Warcraft or EverQuest for decades. And these are two games that heavily inspired League of Legends initially, and based off of how much Trindamir's been playing Classic WoW, I think might
Já jsem taky viděl, že hraje Classic WoW, no?
have a pretty big influence on the Riot MMO as well. Personally, I think they'll likely go with the Holy Trinity. It was what Ghostcrawler initially envisioned for the project, but then again, this may be one of the areas they decided to innovate on and might be part of the reset, so who knows at this point, but we can hope. So before we jump into any of the details for potential raids and dungeons, how are we going to be engaging with them? And I guess the bigger question, what is the combat going to look like? I don't know about you, but looking at other Riot Games titles, I can pretty confidently...
Furt nevím, jak to chcou udělat tak, aby to nebylo obyčejný MMOčko, že jo? Aby bylo něčím výjimečný, jako jak to chcou udělat? Obrovský svět asi, jo, nějaký, nevím. Nebo co měl Classic WoWko, když vyšlo? Vanilla třeba. To dělali 6 let, že jo? A byl tam obrovský svět, hezký lokace, vole, nevím, dobrá hudba. V té době to bylo prostě bomba, ale dneska musíš přijít zase s něčím úplně revolučním a fakt už jako nevím, co by tam mělo být. To nic nenapadá. Jak moc je revoluční, co je revoluční.
say that they are uniquely qualified to produce some cutting-edge MMORPG combat. But don't take my word for it. This snippet from one of their MMO job postings sums up what their philosophy is for the MMO combat. We're on a mission to deliver a game that players have been yearning for, an MMO set in the League universe. We aspire to provide a generational leap in the genre that satisfies old fans and newcomers alike. A key ingredient to our success is delivering cutting-edge action combat that is immediately satisfying and remains engaging for thousands of hours of play. So I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that they are leaning towards action combat, and I do personally believe this is the reasoning for the reset that happened in 2023. Ghostcrawler is on the record for saying that he doesn't believe action combat is quite there for MMORPGs yet, and after he left, only 3 months afterwards, they had posted a job listing for an action combat specialist for the combat in the Riot MMO. What that quote doesn't show is what the camera perspective is going to look like. We have seen action combat games like Lost Ark that are a more isometric or top-down style. But if we do skip ahead a little bit in that job posting, we can see that they ask for experience across both third-person action and MMO genres. So as always, let's take it maybe with a grain of salt, but it does seem that we're going for a third-person action combat experience. This is also an area that the current MMO landscape could greatly be improved, as much combat is either fairly dull tab targeting or spammy, uninspired action combat. So this will be a very interesting aspect of the game that I'm going to keep my eyes on very closely. While there's not a lot to specifically say about dungeons and raids, I think you can look at the League of...
Co by mohlo být raid, nebo dungeon, nebo raid boss se dá jako dobře odhadnout, si myslím docela, ale že v tom lore je toho dost, no.
Legends lore and some of the characters like Scion, Mordekaiser, or even look at Arcane and the different bad guys that are available in those.
Jako Sion a Morde nejsou jediní raid bossové, co by tam mohly být, no. Tam bych je fakt jako aj desítky, si myslím, no. Jako co se týče čempů z Lolka, no.
Or even look at Arcane and the different bad guys that are available in those. And we got a lot of dungeons and raids in store for us for this game. And besides what League of Legends has already shown us, the team at Riot has hired some of the encounter designers from the hit MMORPG World of Warcraft. I think it is safe to say that we will see this team develop some of the most interesting, engaging, and really difficult MMORPG encounters that we see in World of Warcraft's high-end rating. One thing that turns a lot of people off from modern MMORPGs is that many of them come with a subscription. Though, when it comes to Riot Games, I highly doubt they will have any subscription.
Všechny hry mají free, no, takže předpokládám, že i tohle by nebylo na subscription, no, že by to bylo taky free, ale museli by to nějak monetizovat prostě, no. Což zase pak tu hru trochu kazí, že?
In fact, I think it's safe to say that given Riot's history with all of their games, the game is going to be as free.
Ta popy, vole, na zádech prostě talíř, kámo, to není štít, to je talíř.
Is hitting the subscribe button on this video. That said, Riot has mastered the games as a service pay.
Skiny do MMOčka, no taky mi to napadlo, ale tak prostě vzhledy, no. Nevím, mounty možná prodávat, že? Tak jak to dělá, vole, Blizzard. Ale Blizzard třeba má, vole, subscription, pak má ještě pay to win nějaký, jakoby, bundly, ne, že nevím, jestli prodávají goldy už neprodávají, myslím, že? A pak ještě, myslím, že nějaký sety dokonce prodávali za prachy, jakoby, které ti zlepšovaly staty, prostě armor. A pak samozřejmě mounty a kosmetiky, no, jako kosmetické věci.
Payment model, and I would make the assumption.
A battle passy ještě? No jako Blizzard monetizuje úplně všecko, no, to je úplně šílený. XP boosty? To je co ještě, ne?
That they will continue.
Spíš mi řekni, co nemonetizujou, ale to asi neřekneš nic, jo.
This into the MMO. How they choose to monetize will most likely be either a non-pay-to-win cash shop, cosmetics, season passes, or a combination of these. They have stated that they want this game to be just jump in and play with your friends. And I think that's where they're going to go with it, considering all their experience with their other games. So there you have it. Every single thing we know about the Riot MMO. I feel like every year I make a new one of these videos, and that's because I do. I'm super excited about this game, and I want to stay up to date personally about everything they are doing in development. Initially, I made this channel as...
No, takže víme furt stejný prd. Ale Trindamir chce, aby to bylo před rokem 2030, tak třeba to udají fakt dřív, no. Tak aspoň něco novýho víme.
Kind of a hobby for myself to personally keep track of the game's development, and it's turned into so much more. We've been tracking this project closely on my very active Discord for the past 4 years, even creating bots that track job listings for the project. We've had our ups and downs, interesting...
To jako nechtěl bych udělat tolik videí, vole, o něčem, o čem víme úplný prd, jako, co na to podíváš. Úplný prd o tom víme a tolik videí na to udělal. To musí hodně vařit z vody, co?
Job listings for the project. We've had our ups and downs, interesting leaks and droughts of information, but I think that 2025 is really shaping up to be an interesting year for Riot Games. And hopefully some of that transitions into some MMO.
Jo, zatím jako ten rok je zajímavý pro Lolko určitě.
RPG news. Though likely it'll be some more job listings and some fun live streams from Trindamir. So as we enter 2025, once again, I just
From Trendir.
want to welcome you all to the channel. If you made it this far and you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It's right there. It's free. If you don't like me in any of my future videos, you can always unsubscribe. Let's just hang out, have fun, look forward to this game. We play League of Legends over on my Discord server all the time and other games as well. I'm gonna start streaming on Twitch more too, which is scary and frightening. And I actually don't really look forward to it because you guys are terrible, but yeah. As always, my name is Spun. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.
Tak se toho dočkáme. A to je asi všechno, co víme. Je to smutný? Dělají na tom už já nevím jak dlouho. A ještě na tom dlouho dělat budou. A furt tam vidíme kulový. Ale to největší kulový, jaký si můžeš představit. Ale modlíme se pro to. Jo,